All right, so I'm adding this in before today's video because I felt like I needed to touch on it. And as I was trying to upload the video, I actually ended up seeing this. And I thought to myself, yo, we got to talk about this real quick before I get into this episode. So Diana has some comments to say after on Watch What Happens Live. Andy Cohen asked Garcelle about what she thought about that whole comment that Diana made about black content creators, and Garcelle felt like she was uneducated. So in response, Diana hopped up on Instagram and said, "Dear Garcelle, next time you go on national television, why don't you educate viewers on how many times I went to Haiti, your home country? Why don't you tell them how many planes full of first aid and medical supplies I sent to Haiti? Why don't you tell viewers how many millions of my dollars I have given to your country? A woman from Bosnia did that. Also, you could have mentioned all the money I have given and everything I have done for women's rights in the Congo and other 100% black communities. You are very familiar with all the work I have done for human rights all around the globe." And then she says, "P.S. Crystal is not a liar." Let me just say this. First of all, it is very much giving, I help you black people and you should be grateful to me. And then it's also given, I understand exactly what a black person is. I understand the people of Haiti. I understand the needs of the people of Haiti, but I don't know what a black content creator is. Girl, if you don't get the F out of here with your, this woman is so dang on dirty, and they need to get this woman off of my television screen before I have a conniption fit and really go in. Y'all can sound off in the comments about this, but now we're about to hop into the video because I can't stand this trick.
All right, Sky Squad, we are back in the building, baby. And just so you guys know, I am currently in LA. So if the videos are a little bit off time-wise, it's because I'm 3 hours behind where I normally am, because as you guys know, I am an early bird. So this is going to be a little bit different. And I am recording this podcast style because I'm just trying something different while I'm here. We had a heck of a night that I will tell you guys all about on my personal channel. So I'm barely making it, but we in the building, okay? And I did get a chance to watch last night's episode of The Real Housewives of Beverly Hills. We are talking about season 12, episode 8. It takes a villain, and a villain indeed we do have, okay? And that villain's name is Diana Jenkins of Room 23 fame. Y'all know the one I'm talking about. The one with the problematic post on Instagram. Oh, yes, we're talking about that Diana. Dirty Diana. Okay. So, anyway, in this episode, I felt like Diana completely disrespected Garcelle at her birthday party. I honestly don't know why Garcelle did not kick this woman out of her party. I would have had her escorted out of this party the same way Melody had Letitia escorted out of her event back, I think, was it season 2? Or I think it was season 2 of Love and Marriage Huntsville. Oh yes, security would have escorted her and her $250,000 Birkin bag out of my party. Okay, but we'll get to that part when we get to it. The beginning of the episode. Oh wait, before we get into that, make sure you guys subscribe to the channel if you haven't already done so. Hit that notification bell button. Join the texting community, which the links will be in the description down below. And it's time to rate the episode. So on a scale of 1 to 10, I'm gonna rate this episode. I'm gonna give it a 9. I'm gonna give it a 9 because I felt like some of the scenes early on kind of were fluff, but I understand they want to give us, personality scenes to help us get to know certain characters a bit more and whatnot. I also did not appreciate the promo that they put in the top third of the video yet again. I hate when they do that for these particular movies and shows that, NBC Universal has coming out. I feel like it's so distracting to the show. I can barely see it. So I'm taking away some points for that. I'm also taking away points for the to be continued with the no preview at the end. Now, granted, they haven't done that yet this season, so I feel like they could be using it sparingly, but I still don't like it because it's a sign of what could be to come with more episodes occurring like this, and y'all know I don't like it, okay? So with that out of the way, let's go ahead and stage dive into what we got to talk about with this episode. And of course, as you guys know, let me know what you would rate the episode as well in the chatterization. So anyway, we start off the episode with Garcelle meeting up with Sheree Zampino for a walk, and we finally are seeing Sheree on our screens. It only took, 8 episodes? Anyway, Garcelle, we learned, dated Will Smith after Sheree did, and she didn't know Sheree at the time. Garcelle is excited for her birthday party, so more on that to come. We see Crystal making Instagram drink videos with her housekeeper, Lucy. Her brother is home after releasing a new album. He was away in China for a year promoting the album and whatnot. Her husband, Rob, comes home from working on a new movie based on a children's book. And then she recaps the Mexico trip, says that it was exciting and challenging at the same time, but that it all worked out in the end. And then he asks how things went with Diana, and she likens it to her first cast trip, where she got into the whole situation with Sutton. And she tells them that when you jab at Diana, then it's going to go nuclear. Okay, so that's a little foreshadowing of things to come from Diana. So at Kyle's, she invites Mauricio to Garcelle's party. She doesn't think that Diana is going because after Kyle texted the group asking them about how they were feeling after the trip, Diana went into this sort of like, discussion about her being on bed rest, burning the candle at both ends. The doctor told her to be on bed rest. She had just lost the baby, I think, 12 weeks earlier. So, it's just not a good time for her, but she's going to make it to the party because she feels like she doesn't want Garcelle to think that she's rude. Now, for some reason, this is a mic drop for Kyle and some of the rest of the girls. But at the end of the day, I really didn't feel like it was all that. Like they were all making it out to seem, because I was just like, okay, she made a little passive aggressive comment, whatever. I mean, it is what it is at that point. But I guess to the girls, they're just not used to people doing that. So for them, they're kind of like, ooh, oh my goodness. Oh, she went in. She made a comment and she made a passive aggressive dig at Garcelle. She's stirring up the juice. And I'm like, it was not all that. Anyway, Erica does a photo shoot for her hairline, Pretty Mess Hair. She recaps how the phone stopped ringing when she started going through all of her trials and tribulations. And of course the phone was going to stop ringing because they think you involved in a scandal. So, I mean, what did you expect? So she talks about having to pull herself up out the mud. And listen, I'm not mad at the woman for having to pull herself up out the mud. I think what people are mad about is the way she handled things as she was trying to pull herself up out the mud, because it really didn't seem like she was trying to pull herself out the mud in the first place. It felt like she was kind of rubbing the public's faces in the woes of the victims of her husband's crimes. I mean, that's the part that I felt like people were really feeling like she was insensitive about. So people would definitely be on her side. I think maybe a little bit more had she handled the situation better, but she did not. Okay. So anyway, for whatever reason, Sutton goes to visit Dorit, who we know absolutely does not like Sutton. I mean, bottom line, we know that Dorit, Kyle, Erica, Lisa Rinna do not like Sutton in the slightest little bit, but they know that Sutton makes for good TV, so they keep her. I feel like they tolerate her because they know that she is the one who is bringing in the ratings, because she is the one who is actually serving the girls for real. I mean, at the end of the day, her and Garcelle are serving the girls. They're making the show work. Okay. But anyway, we learned that Sutton had to go get some surgery for her testosterone and how it has changed her life, and Dorit is looking skeptical. Now, I don't know nothing about testosterone and women taking testosterone. I know about men taking testosterone because I understand that process. As you get older, you probably need a little bit more testosterone in your life, you know what I'm saying, because things happen for men. But I don't necessarily know about it for women. So if y'all have stories, please let us know in the chatterization down below. Now, with that being said, Dorit has asked how things are going with Crystal, and things are good. Dorit then asks about Diana, and Sutton recaps the plane story and how Diana made her sit in the back, but Lisa Rinna didn't have to sit in her original seat, and so she felt like it was punishment. But she also feels like, listen, Sutton wouldn't have had to apologize for yelling at Diana had Diana stayed out of the argument with Crystal and Sutton. Bottom line, Diana chose to interject herself into a space where she really had no business interjecting herself. And if you are going through so much trauma, it would seem to me as though you would want to just sit back and enjoy yourself and let the girls hash it out amongst themselves, okay? Especially given that you don't like the bacon-eating vegetarian anyway, so why would you even say anything in that situation? So when Sutton turned her attentions to you and you got what you was asking for, now you upset about it. But I digress. Anyway, Sutton also doesn't like the little jab that she took at Garcelle in the text message thread. So Sutton says next time she'll take her own private jet on vacation. And I'm like, boom, that's how you do it. That's how you show the girl, Sutton. You get your own private jet, okay? Garcelle arrives home to all of her sons and her nephew there. We learned that the real surprised her with a birthday party, and they brought her son Oliver out with flowers. Sutton, for some reason, FaceTimes Kyle, who we know does not like Sutton. Okay, let's bottom line with that. And I feel like, and I know this is going to be controversial to me, and I'm going to tell you why I say it in a bit, but I feel like sometimes the relationship between Kyle and Sutton sometimes feels borderline abusive. And I don't necessarily I can't tell if it's mentally or physically, but I will tell you why I say that in just 1 second. So bookmark that, okay? Kyle reminds Sutton that Denise is coming and she guesses that Diana is not coming. Sutton said that she texted Diana just to be nice, and Diana said that she'll actually see her tonight. So Kyle thinks that things are not going to be okay. And of course she's right, and she's going to play a part in that too. Anyway, everybody arrives at the SLS and as soon as Erica gets there, she wants the margaritas, and right off jump, she tells Sutton that she was going to call her and ask her what to bring Garcelle, but she decided on flowers instead. And so I'm looking like, you was going to call Sutton? Okay. Meanwhile, Lonnie, Love, and Adrian are there from the real. Garcelle arrives. Sherry Shepherd is there. Diana arrives thinking that Garcelle already thinks that she's a diva, but she does want to honor Garcelle for her birthday. Garcelle doesn't know if it's because of the language barrier or not. If when the doctor told Diana to be on bed rest, she meant that the doctor meant to take a nap or whatever. Because if you're supposed to be on bed rest, why are you here at the party? Bottom line, if you've gone through so much trauma, and I believe that she has, I mean, I wouldn't even bother to show up. You know what I'm saying? Stay on bed rest. I mean, that's what I would do. And if I feel like I don't like you anyway, I'm not going to your party. But that's me. Anyway, I noticed that we finally got a Married to Medicine promo during this episode of The Real Housewives of Beverly Hills. And because I was thinking to myself, I really ain't seen Bravo promoting Married to Medicine much at all. And I really don't like that. But I digress. Diana greets Garcelle with a gift of roses and her book, Room 23. Apparently, it was a limited edition. And you know she was trying to throw Garcelle some subtle shade there. Sutton wonders if Jesus healed Diana since she recovered so quickly from having to be on the bed rest, okay? I'm wondering the same thing too. Did Jesus come down and anoint her with the oils, okay? With the problematic oils, that is, because we know Diana is quite problematic. So while Crystal and Erica are commiserating over how hot Garcelle's son Oliver is, Garcelle is, talking about her Birkin birthday cake and how she refuses to spend money on an actual Birkin. And given how much they cost, I mean, girl, I wouldn't either. But I mean, that's neither here nor there. Meanwhile, Kyle is over in the corner salivating over Diana's actual $250,000 diamond Birkin clutch. And for me, I love Kyle because I just feel like having met her in person, she comes across very, very nice, very, very sweet, very, very genuine. But on the show, she comes across, I will say this, like she is the person who aligns herself with the most money instead of it being Crystal, because I kind of feel like the moment that Diana showed up on the scene with all of her Cartier and all of her bangles and Diamondells and whatnot, I felt like Kyle saw stars in her eyes, and I feel like she wants to follow Diana off a cliff at this point, and we will see why later. Meanwhile, Sheree arrives and they introduce her to the group. Sheree talks about making peace with her punani in 2020. They talk about, whether or not the women were told not to touch or show their punani or whatnot like that. And then for some reason, Erica reveals that, well, Dorit's husband was staring at my punani all night one time. And so Dorit is sitting there looking awkward AF, okay? And I noticed that Dorit never has any smoke for Erica when Erica takes the little jabs at her. And I feel like, again, this goes back to that whole Fox Force 5 alliance type situation. And it really irks my nerves because had that been Sutton or had that been Garcelle, Dorit would have been all up in arms, and it would have been a thing for the rest of the season. But when it's Erica, it's it was nothing. It was just an awkward moment. The punani was right in my face. We couldn't help but stare at it in her confessional, but not in person. And I guarantee you that issue will never come up again. And this is probably the first time that I actually feel like Erica actually is lit, because she ain't talking about how lit she is. She just screaming at the top of her lungs, talking about inappropriate stuff. And to me, this is a more authentically lit Erica versus the quote unquote lit Erica that was on that boat last week. Because as I told y'all, and I know some of y'all disagree because I saw the comments, but let me tell you something. I ain't ever seen a drunk person in my life run around talking about, oh, I'm so lit, I'm so drunk. No, a drunk person, 9 times out of 10, they just in the state of drunkenness, okay? Now, a tipsy person might tell you they tipsy, but a drunk person, they ain't gonna tell you they was drunk until the next day. But that's just my opinion. Anyway, PK actually walks up while they talking about how he was staring at Erica's punani, and it's just an awkward moment. Meanwhile, Kyle goes to stir up the pot by calling out Diana's text message. And Diana says she's ready to bring out the nukes and ready to go in for the kill, and she's ready for the destruction for the bacon-eating vegetarian, aka Sutton, okay? And Kyle just laughs along with her. So it's time for Garcelle to cut the cake. It's time for everybody to dance and grab some tatas and Kyle to do some splits. Diana is off to the side, warning her little boy toy man that her bag is $250,000, and she quickly yanks it up like somebody there would steal it. I'm thinking to myself, now listen, I understand. It's a $250,000 Diamondale purse or whatever like that. So I get it. But you are at a production-led party with people who are associated with the cast, and I understand that you might not know everybody there. But I just felt like it was one of those little moments like, girl, I see the problematic in you coming out. But again, okay, I wouldn't like to leave my wallet laying around at any party, just sitting around open. So I ain't going to go in too hard on her. But because I know she's problematic, it made me look at her a little bit side-eye with that one. So anyway, Sutton wants to pull Diana off to the side. I don't know why. But whatever. I guess Sutton knows she needs to make some good TV, and she never forgets that, and she always delivers, okay? So Sutton wants to check on her, but Sutton also thinks that it's confusing that Diana was allegedly on bed rest, so why is she here? Diana, I agree with this, does not think that it is any of Sutton's business, and she does not have to explain herself to her. So Diana then begins to explain, well, listen, my situation is kind of crazy. And then Sutton interjects that she too has some miscarriages, and she touches Diana's leg. Diana tells her not to be fake, and then she starts to really go in on Sutton. And what Sutton really wants to address is Diana's text about, thinking that Garcelle is rude. So Diana asks her, are you going to yell at me? Okay, because I'm Bosnian and I don't do well to yelling. So Sutton is like, yeah, I want to hear all about the strong Bosnian tough girl. And Diana says, you want me to headbutt you? Now, this is the second time that she has mentioned headbutting Sutton. And to be so fancy and to be so rich and famous and to never have gone into a store, it is very interesting to me that you are able to recall some memory or whatever, recount some time in your head when headbutting was a common thing for you, okay? For you to be so classy and for you to be walking around and saving all of your Birkins when you think that your home is gonna, catch on fire and all of that, for you to be talking about headbutting someone at a party, I feel like, tell us more about the real you, Miss Lady. Tell us more about the real you, because that's the second time you mentioned headbutting this woman. I don't know if you guys heard it the first time, but I sure enough did, and this was the second time she's mentioned it, if not the third, if memory serves me correct. But I know she's mentioned it at least one time before, and I'm like, that's very interesting that you want to headbutt somebody that ain't really done that much to you. Okay. Anyway. Diana ends up calling her fake and boring, and she regrets talking to Sutton and Garcelle about losing her brother. And the flashback clearly shows Sutton trying to relate to Diana's struggles, but Diana didn't see it that way. Diana just calls her fake again, and in her confessional, Sutton says, I'm not fake. I don't have fake lips. I don't have fake boobs. Diana is the person who is fake, and I think she's projecting. In my mind, I wish Sutton had said that in the moment, but I think sometimes Sutton, again, I agree with Diana that Sutton is clumsy with her words, but Diana is equally as clumsy with hers. Okay. Um, and I sometimes wish that Sutton would say what she is thinking in those moments, but she does get in some good jabs, and we're gonna go through those. But anyway, somebody calls Kyle and Garcelle over and says that Diana is going in on Sutton, so of course they join. Between Sutton, Kyle, and Garcelle, I don't know who is delivering most this season, but they are all able to at least stir the pot or serve up some major drama. Without the three of these ladies, I don't know what we would be watching this season, but whatever. Sutton says she really wanted to talk to Diana one-on-one, and Diana says that I just told this woman that she's boring, and Garcelle is shocked. Diana says, well, I'm rude, aren't I, Garcelle? And Garcelle says, I told you were rude because Dorit was trying to engage with you and you shut her down. Diana tells her that if Garcelle wants to take a swing at her, then to do it. And then she asks Garcelle what her problem is. At that moment, I would have kicked her out, but Garcelle is still playing ball. Garcelle tells her that she doesn't have a problem with her, and she tells her that you have a chip on your shoulder and it has absolutely nothing to do with me. For some reason, Kyle in this scene is really trying to back up Diana, and I cannot, for whatever reason, understand why, other than her allegiance to Birkin bags and Hermes and all things Cartier. But for whatever reason, she really is trying to be on Diana's train, and Diana is clearly, in this particular instance, the aggressor in this situation. Because the way that she is coming at both Garcelle and Sutton, to me, especially for it to be Garcelle's birthday party, is completely disrespectful. And again, I don't know why Garcelle had not kicked this woman out. Actually, I wouldn't have just kicked her out. I would have had security escort her out, okay? But anyway, Sutton tells her, well, you seem like a really different Diana. I guess that bed rest was good for you. And then Sutton tries to tell her something that they're all trying to communicate with her. And Diana asks, what, that you're a bacon eating vegetarian? And Sutton is like, girl, shut up with that. Garcelle wants to know what that has to do with anything. And then, of course, Kyle jumps in to defend Diana and says it's actually important. Garcelle is like, so you're trying to say that because she's a bacon eating vegetarian that has something to do with her integrity? Who cares? Okay. So Kyle then says, well, let's reassess the situation, aka keep the drama going. So Sutton recaps that she was just trying to have a conversation, and Diana says, no, you were being fake. And Garcelle is like, girl, that was kind of shitty. And forgive me for having to use that type of language, but in order for me to really convey to you what actually happened in this episode today, I'm going to have to give you guys the exact words. So I apologize already, okay? But that's what she said. So Sutton puts her hands on Diana's knee, and Diana recoils and is like, don't touch me, don't touch me. But if you notice, Sutton does not even move her hand, okay? Garcelle is like, wow. And so Diana then asks Garcelle, are you her mouthpiece? Are you her bodyguard? And again, I'm not quite so sure why Garcelle hasn't asked security to escort this woman out yet, but whatever. Diana says, I know that Sutton is frail and old, so I get it. At that point, Garcelle has had enough and tells her she's being mean. And Diana says, yes, I am. Garcelle gets up and says she's not going to mess up her birthday party and that her kids are there, and she walks off. Now, the idea that Diana Jenkins is calling Sutton old and frail is kind of interesting to me, because Diana Jenkins, if I'm looking up this information online right now, and if this is anything to go by, Diana Jenkins is 49 years old. Sutton Strack is 50 years old. So with Sutton being only 1 year older than Diana and you calling her frail and old, I don't necessarily know. You are offending literally everybody at that event, because Lisa Rinna is how old? Let me look. I'm looking this up right now. That woman is about, what, 58? So you're calling Sutton frail and old, and she is, what, 50, 1 year older than you? But at least for Sutton, what she can say is that her face and her lips aren't so plumped up with fluids that you can't really tell what her original face looked like. I would think that she's doing quite well. And this is no disrespect to anybody that wants to get a little Botox and a little filler here and there to actually give yourself a little tweak. But when you get to the point where you done plump your face up so much that I can't tell the original face from the old face, that's when we got a problem. Okay, so for you to be calling this woman old and frail, that's laughable to me. But whatever. Sutton should have walked off at that point, but she says, I think we're done here, and Diana, you're an asshole, and she's about to leave. And so Kyle, this is where I get into my point about Kyle being, in my opinion, somewhat abusive to Sutton, and I don't like it because I've seen her do it before. She puts her hands on Sutton and tells her to hold on. Now, granted, Kyle is tipsy at this moment, I can tell, but in my mind, she got to learn to keep her hands to herself. And Sutton ends up telling Diana, girl, I got your number and I see you. Diana says, yep, I gave you my number. I gave it to you when I first met you. I got you right then. Sutton says, yep, I got your number, 777-9311. I mean, she literally calls out a number. I don't know if that's her phone number or not, but I was like, yes, Sutton, go in. For some reason, off to the side, Erica is asking the bartender to break the rules and get her another margarita. And Garcelle mentions that Denise is not there and she's disappointed. So Erica, drunken Erica, starts yelling, I told you, girl. I told you, B. Denise effed you over 3 times, and if you let her do it again, you are a punk. And Garcelle is like, why are you yelling? Okay, you ain't ever told me anything about Denise before, so where is this coming from? Then she points out that Diana and Sutton are still going at it in the corner, and Dorit is like, well, just let them be. Now, Sutton calls Diana passive-aggressive for her text message, and Diana says, no, it was straight up aggressive, and Kyle agrees, and Sutton has to break it down. No, girl, what you said in that text message was, my doctor put me on bed rest. I've been burning the candle on both ends. I have been going through this. I have been going through that. But I don't want Garcelle to think I'm rude. Nobody could respond to what you said because you had prefaced it with all this ailments that you were going through. And to be quite frank, if you are going through all of that much, 1, maybe it's not a good idea for you to do this show. 2, maybe it's not a good idea for you to engage in some of the beefs that don't include you on this show so that you can have a more pleasant experience while you do this show. Or 3, maybe you should have just stayed your butt on bed rest and stayed home. Okay, that's where you could have been. And everybody else, I know me as an audience member, I would have been fine. I would have been fine had you swam off into the sea on the last episode, but that didn't happen. So here we are. Anyway, at this point, they get into whether or not Sutton has empathy for her situation or not. And I think we would have more empathy for her situation, but I think she also kind of wields it as a weapon, and as a way to for her to be rude about Garcelle telling her she was rude. Anyway, Sutton finally tells her, girl, you are a soulless individual and I don't want nothing to do with you. Kyle, for some reason, goes off that Sutton cannot call somebody a soulless individual. And I don't like the way Kyle is putting her hands on Sutton's chest, keeping her sitting down, grabbing and yanking on her and pulling her all around. And again, this is not the first time that she's done that. And I really don't like it. Again, it feels friendship abusive. And I feel like she needs to stop that because she wouldn't do that to anybody else. I think the only person that she might have probably tried to do that with may have been her sister Kim when they got into that limo fight. But I think she knew enough well not to do that then because I don't think that Kim is a spitfire and she would not have let that go down. So I think that Sutton is the only person that Kyle would dare to put her hands on like that in such a way that would keep her in a situation where the woman clearly wanted to leave. So then that's when we get the famous Diana line, oh, you need a new villain? Well, here I am. Okay? And I was like, girl, bye. Okay? Anyway, we get the to be continued sign, and that's it for this episode. Let me know what you guys think about it down in the comment section down below. Make sure you guys hit that subscribe button. Tell me if you are as frustrated as I am, but it was still good though. Okay. With that being said, I will catch you guys in the next video.